You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And just one or two messages. Kofi Bento says that the central issue is that our police must treat everyone as important, and resourcefulness is more important than resources. In this matter, they didn't lack resources to take the important first steps. We encourage the police to treat everyone as important. All right? You don't wait for the public to begin to shout before you begin to up your game. And I have a typical example I shared once the Morocco incident that happened, the Lebanese. Everybody said Lebanese, and nobody knew that he was a Ghanaian and not Lebanese. Then he had been arrested, he had been charged, he had been granted bail, and when the public began to talk and the gender minister stepped in and everybody said, look, hang the guy, the police suddenly called him from his bail and then began to treat him as though he was an animal. I'm telling you, I sat in the police offices and they just forgot about all the laws and treated him as though he didn't have any rights. And then with dispatch, they took him to court. So because of the public outcry, they began to give a demonstration that they are capable. Meanwhile, they have started the process, but there's a bit of an inertia until people began and governments, ministers began to speak about it. Right. This is an officer who says that the Tardy kidnapping is unfortunate. As an officer, obtaining information from telephony company is simply impossible. I have been at the MTN head office on 3 consecutive occasions with court order to obtain information, but all were turned down without any reason, and the accused were subsequently discharged. The police is willing to work, but the system is simply not supportive. Okay, this is interesting knowing. I've been part of 1 or 2 of some of these issues, and it didn't take us that much to get the telephony records. So I don't know why. Yes. So it goes to all those who must make sure things are working. Let's get things working. Okay, so on the murders that have happened, and we have mentioned, Ahmed Suale, very gruesome. We have mentioned Josephine, the GPHA woman, the Assemblies of God, pastor who was killed right there whilst a service, church service was going on. We have mentioned the Ghana Water, deputy director or so manager on his way, into the north somewhere, and the Pram matters as well. We are learning that the murders are happening, in other places of secure. And a member of parliament just sent me a message telling me about recent murders in his area in the Volta region, including one that just happened yesterday. So what do you gauge is going on? James?
Something I would repeat myself once again, that the murders we have recorded in recent times is a reflection of a larger picture. There's a sense of insecurity in our country, and let nobody toy with the statistics. Let nobody toy with the statistics. And I made the point that it took years of investment in the police service, starting from 2010, when the transformational agenda in that service was launched, to get the reduction in major crime incidents. And so starting from 2010, conscious efforts were made. Police population was around 23,000. By the year 2012, 2013, the figures had shot up to 32,000. And that is the figure we are still contending with as we speak. A lot of equipment at that time was procured for the service. Telecommunication, gadgets were procured for them. over 1,500 vehicles were bought for the service alone. Because the numbers at that time also soared, the police was able to roll out the visibility and accessibility concept. And so wherever you went to, you saw the police around. And that contributed in no small measure towards bringing down the overall crime rates by about 15%. I mean, from 2013 up to 2014, we saw a reduction. And the figures went down by about 15%. Here, I am talking about the aggregate reduction. So you put murder together, you put robbery, defilement, and murder. Those four are the major incidents of crime that crime analysts would usually use in arriving at their conclusions. Today, we are saddled with murders. And you see, murders have occurred in the past. But what makes the recently recorded incidents of murder quite exceptional is that all these murders were recorded in about, now from the latter part of December last year and the early parts of January. That is quite alarming. These are very high profile murders. So that gives us cause to be concerned about the state of our army security. Now, Samson,
You said if we speak to the statistics, and the statistics we know suggest that you had 549 murders in 2016, you had 609 in 2017. And if we're looking at these developments as, you know, murder and robbery cases together, as you just suggested a while ago, in 2017, okay, so in 2018, the murders 500.
Yeah.
Compared to 2017, which was 609.
Yeah.
2016, which was 549.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about? So
you record a slight increase in murder cases?
No, it's rather decreased.
Yes, it's decreased. It's you know, slightly. Yeah, but that's why I said if you aggregate them, murder, robbery, etc., and that is what was done between 2013 and 2014, and we recorded the 15% reduction. But if you single out murder alone, those figures are right. And so, but if you also take out armed robberies and you do the analysis, you notice that there is a sharp.
Yeah, in robberies, there's an increase because in 2017 there was 1,772.
Correct.
And then in 2018 there was 1,919.
Yes.
2015
was
1,411. Then 2016, 1,397.
Yeah.
It does appear it's been increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been increasing, and so those are the trends.
These are reported ones, let's say so.
Yes, from the police service itself. I mean, you can't dispute them.
We know a lot go unreported.
Well, but not with the police. Not with the police, unless, of course, yeah, in the rural areas, sometimes deaths occur, and they hurriedly bury the deceased.
They are not even registered.
Yeah, without reporting to the police. So yes, those it's a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, but having said that, I think I should now zoom in on Ahmed Suale's murder.
Right.
And I have been speaking to the issues. I demonstrated, particularly in respect to the Criminal and Other Offences Act, that the conduct of our own colleague in Parliament, the Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, in our considered view, clearly passed for abatement. And I cited Section 21 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. There are two aspects to abatement. First of all, you can abet the offense itself, or you abet another person in the commission of a certain crime. Now, the sense or the import of the provision is that when you abet an offense, the offense itself needn't be carried out. Somebody needing to draw a finger in furtherance of the abatement before the crime can be made out.
Let me read Section 21 that you are referring to of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, because Martin will also come and show you that you're wrong in your analysis. Now, 20 is abetment of a criminal offense. And it says 21, a person who directly or indirectly instigates, commands, counsels, procures, solicits, or in any other manner purposefully aids, facilitates, encourages, or promotes, whether by a personal act or presence or otherwise, and a person who does an act for the purposes of aiding, facilitating, encouraging, or promoting the commission of a criminal offense by any other person, whether known or unknown, and those are the things you want to emphasize, whether known or unknown, setting or unsetting, commits the criminal offense of abetting that criminal offense and of abetting the other person in respect of that criminal offense. Absolutely. And you say this means that once the MP had gone on radio, has gone on TV, at least 3 different places, and suggested that, you know, this gentleman, you know, should be dealt with.
Yes.
He's complicit.
Absolutely.
And should be charged by the police by now.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, explain yourself.
So he could even be charged with abetting causing harm, abetting assault, or even abetting murder, or abetting what? Causing harm with an offensive weapon. So the law is very clear in that sense. The interpretation a lot of people have placed on the law on abetment is that somebody acting in furtherance of the statement made, which invites the public to cause harm on the victim, there ought to be a link. We're saying that no, not with abetment. If you're able to establish the linkage between the call for encouragement or whatever, it adds to the form of punishment that would be meted out upon conviction. But if there is no linkage at all, the person involved is still liable for the offense of abetment.
And your call, your call is that the MP ought to be arrested and ought to be, you know...
So my position has always been that from the date Honorable Ken Agyapong made those infamous, inglorious comments, he ought to have been picked up by the police.
And even now?
And even now, absolutely. Because there is no time bar to the investigation of criminal matters. Maybe the police went to sleep, we're saying they should wake up from their slumber. That has been our position. And if you recall,
the police now inform you that they have spoken to a number of people, not only Ken Agyapong.
My invitation in relation to Honorable Ken Agyapong is that there was some dereliction of duty on the part of the police. Remember that I'm not talking about the investigation of the murder itself.
Okay.
Yes, that we have made calls that the murder of Ahmed Suale should be thoroughly investigated. I'm saying that beyond that, the one who invited the public to visit harm on the person of Ahmed Suale ought to have been dealt with much, much earlier. Had the police done that, I am sure...
Your party issued an official statement.
Yes.
And they said, don't scapegoat Ken Agyapong. Is that not what you are doing?
No, not at all. No, I have drawn the distinction on the basis of law that Ken Agyapong's criminal liability ought to have been dealt with relative to Section 21, pending the outcome of the investigations into the murder itself. So one needs to draw the distinction. Okay. And we set out the legal basis for that.
So just hold on briefly and let's get to Martin, because he clearly has disagreed with you. But beyond your disagreement, you are not satisfied with what the police say they are doing and they have done so far. They have spoken to other potential suspects. Ahmed Suale was involved in an investigation that has brought, you know, trouble to some people. So they have told us they've spoken to Nyantakyi as well. Okay. some of us in the back, we have had the opportunity. There have actually been reports that have gone not to the police, but I think various criminal justice institutions have been activated to ensure this thing is dealt with. So there have been reports that have gone not to the police, but to other places like the BNI. And some of us have heard some of the reports we are told that he himself had made about threats on his life. And we have seen and heard audio recordings of persons who had said things suggesting that, you know, he was going to be dealt with.
Yes, that's the sad aspect of it. Looking back, yeah, there's no way you would escape a conclusion that we haven't done enough as a state to give the disease enough protection. Because when the police officer, the PRO, when he was interviewed on your network, he said he didn't know about the security arrangements. Yeah, that was a PRO. When you're coming out on such a matter, what steps did you take to provide him security? A PRO didn't know. But a PRO is supposed to give us information.
The media should follow, because he said he was aware that he had reported to CID, and CID had given him some protection, and that he would get the information and get back. So the media should be talking to him.
So it means that he wasn't certain. Yes, so that in itself is worrying, because you are coming out to talk to the public. That's a basic thing you should check. So when you say, I will check and come back, no, and since then has he also returned?
I doubt he will do.
That is it. So it's, so from that side, we've not done the best. Okay, we've not done what is required. So you know, that fuels the perception that then the police are not up to the task and all that. They shouldn't do that. They
should all the people, you know, exposed, quote unquote, in the, you know, number 12 video, should all of them be targets of the police investigations? Because from the trajectory, it looks like that's what they are doing. Exactly. And this is the project that the guy was committed to. It is the project for which his cover was blown by the MP.
Yes, exactly. That's no brainer. The police must target all of them, because, you know, in the spy world, there are so many conspiracies and all that, you see. So that's the best approach that the police have taken. Everybody is a potential suspect. That's a Tiger PI team and the rest. Yes, you should check all of them out and make sure that no loopholes are left, okay, whilst we also look outwardly for other persons. You see, but the police, they've arrested somebody, former deputy coordinator of the National Youth Employment Agency, right, and all that. So they should go on.
That's so, with the BNI. And somebody made a complaint to the BNI that he had received, and that somebody is a Tiger PI team member who is in Kumasi. Had made a complaint to the BNI that someone had called him with, you know, an unregistered line or an anonymous line, and said that the person had threatened him. So they trace it to this Alassane Tapsoba, arrested him and brought him to Accra. Well, I've been to the BNI, I've spoken to him. He says that he's friends with that person. They are very good friends. And when he heard about the Ahmed Suale issue, he called his friend to say, quote unquote, "Hey, nyabeni, and also na wuhu." So, but the BNI is saying it might be more than that. And the gentleman who made the complaint to the BNI apparently didn't also know that they traced the number to him. That's surprising, isn't it?
Wow, very much so, very much so. Then, well, that, you know, that gives it a totally different coloring, totally different. Well, but in this world of media, it looks like we cannot wait till they finish the investigations. We are always compelled to comment one way or the other. So these are some of the hazards of the job. Okay, yes, so as the police investigate all these potential suspects, it needs to be said, okay, that they should also give them protection. Yes, they should give them protection, because, I mean, for this job that they've done, number 12, we all know what number 12 has done to this country, is helped us tremendously. So at least the least we can do is to give them sufficient protection. You see, you can't die for your nation if the nation is also prepared to do something to give you protection. You say, yes, so that is
so zoom into James and his proposition on section 21.
Right. The 20, I'll even meet him squarely on the 20 before I come to 21. Meeting James squarely on the 20, abetment. the words alone are not sufficient. So let's say Ken Agyapong's words alone are not sufficient because in law, the liability of the abettor or the aider, okay, is joined to the the liability of the person who actually committed the offense. Yes, and let me read from a decided case, R.V. Bryce, 2004, criminal law report. Listen, it says, the liability of an abettor was derived from that of the perpetrator of the criminal offense. Let me read again. The liability of an abettor was derived from that of the perpetrator of the criminal offense.
Meaning?
The court stated that the act must in fact assist the perpetrator. Let me read again for emphasis. The court stated that the act must in fact assist the perpetrator. The aider and abettor must have done the act deliberately, realizing that it was capable of assisting the offense. He must have foreseen the commission of the offense as a real possibility, and he must, when doing the act, have intended to assist the perpetrator. Please, so quite clearly, to the extent that the perpetrator is not being arrested, you cannot establish that link. There must be a nexus, and that's not the only case. There are several other cases here that show that there must be a nexus between the aider or the abettor and the perpetrator. So where you've not arrested the assailant, the perpetrator, then it's difficult. So it means that you are criminalizing his words.
Okay, so to the ordinary mind, this is what you're saying. Somebody must, forgive me, somebody must have been arrested by now, being the one suspected to have committed the actual murder.
Exactly.
And then that person would make confessions, including that this is how he came to murder.
Yes. So
then you bring the person in as one who abetted the murder.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he knew, he heard about it, okay, and that is spurred him on.
The question James is asking you is this. It says, a person who directly or indirectly,
yes,
you instigate or you counsel, you command or you procure or you solicit, in any other manner, purposely aids,
purposely
facilitates, encourages, then he comes to promote, blah, blah, blah. Then he comes to say, whether known or unknown, certain or uncertain.
Yes.
So he says,
you need not know the other person. So you sit at this, so let's say I'm on this platform, then I say certain words, okay, that instigates the crime. So I need not know the person perpetrating. But the nexus must be that it was what I said. So let's say I'm an opinion leader. Then I say, let's attack Kwamena, our MP. You see it. Then my boys, or even if not boys, they need not be this related to me, but they need have heard it. So that charges them on, that spurs them on. So there must be a nexus.
Okay.
If there's no nexus, I mean, no, that's not it. And then most importantly, let's come to the second leg of it. From what we've seen, the video that Ken Agyapong did, he stated that Muhuna Mombono, okay, Mombono, so that is with common assault, right? So he was advocating for
come for monetary reward.
Perfect. So he was advocating for assault, okay. Then you go and commit a murder. No, there are several cases. We can start with G-Man and Jagger P. You know, G-Man, the popular musician those days. Yes, he and Jagger P, so to cut a long story short, Jagger P held a taxi driver, and then in the process, G-Man shot at the driver, okay? He died. Initially, Jagger P was convicted for abetment of murder. But on appeal, they said no. He's liable for only common assault because he beat the taxi driver. Okay. So that there was no evidence that he had planned with G-Man to commit murder. Okay. So once again, until you arrest the assailants, the perpetrators, you cannot conclude that Agyapong has committed
murder. So briefly,
murder.
he moves on from that point and says the threat alone is still sufficient. Yes. So can the police go back to the questioning of the threat.
Exactly.
And say you have threatened him.
Exactly.
And the law says if you threaten someone with harm, it's a criminal offense. We arrest you and deal with you on that. Or because now he's been murdered, that one is to be forgotten.
That's the point. You see, now because it's murder, if you were to rush, it could, affect the whole thing. So you threatened him with assault, okay? And then now, the worst has rather happened.
Right.
In the circumstances, it would appear that we would have to wait. That's not to say Ken Agyapong should be left off the hook. No, even apart from the criminal, sanctions, Parliament, he's a member of Parliament. There's a privileges committee, right? So probably we should start with that one. Then allow the investigations to go on so that when we've uncovered so much, everything's been unraveled, then we'll take the final decision. But in the meantime, I think he should be hauled before the privileges committee and then dealt with as a first, because that one does not prejudice the criminal sanctions that may follow subsequently.
Okay.
You say it.
All right, thank you. Let me get to the other lawyer, get brief comments, and then we'll end with
a non-lawyer.
Okay. Now, so what do you make of all of this? And zooming on to the way we have brought it in, even though the police say, I mean, let's be open-minded. And I think that's the best thing to do, open-minded, and look everywhere else so that you don't scapegoat somebody and then you end up with nothing, actually allowing the perpetrators to escape. If you pay attention also to section 13(1) of the same act, where you intentionally cause another to act, that other is your involuntary agent and hence an extension of your act. We will say in law, under section 11(12), section 11(2) of the same law, you intended an act if the result was foreseeable but not your desire. That appears, if you combine these two, it may put Martin's position under a certain challenge. You don't see that?
Somebody's father is dead.
That's it.
Somebody's husband is dead.
Right.
A breadwinner has been shot. In all of this, it is important for us to be considerate in how we discuss this issue of Ahmed Suale's death. My very respected good friend Anas has lost somebody dear to him, and according to those close to him, he's finding it difficult to, come to terms with the situation. Ken Agyapong, no doubt, is also a very close friend. So these are two gentlemen I've known Anas for over 20 years. I've known Kennedy since 2008 and all that. I don't want to, with respect, make a legal argument on this matter for very good reasons. All I would want to say is that the statement from the NDC, which last week I relied upon.
And commended them.
Yes, I did. I did. That let's not allow for scapegoating, but there could be some more sinister plan. Let's allow the police to go. That was why I got a bit surprised that my respected colleague, but that is his choice. Maybe internally, they then realize that this approach will not help for political gains. So let us hit. It's their right as opposition. But the bottom line is that we need an investigation. The investigation ought to be done. The police must be allowed to look into the matter and come out and get those who actually perpetrated the crime. You see, in this morning's debate, the way I expected James to go, when it is law, deal with the law. When it's politics, deal with politics. When we need to agree. You saw me getting closer to him when there was an issue of law. I said, James, the issue that Martin raised on Jobu Diopadi, I think is on a thin
line. Let's try and do some justice there. That was how I was expecting James to approach it. He's been a deputy interior minister before. But in Yana's case, he would say that, oh, successive government be commended. When it gets to issue of murder, killing, robbery, he says, oh, this government is to blame. There is insecurity, but not the successive government. He's been in office for 8 years, but they are not liable. Nothing was undone. Everything has happened in this. This was fine. It's okay to politicize issues the way you want to politicize them. But you see, he does not have a policeman. I don't have a policeman. We are members of parliament. Ken Agyapong drives by himself. I drive. He drives. We should encourage the system in a positive light so that you don't create that artificial insecurity. Today we are commending Kandapa. Yes, at least in my constituency, I know the behind the scenes work this man has done to give me some peace of mind in a Futu. I know. And I know the behind the scenes work this man has done as a member of the Defense and Interior Committee. That is done to bring peace in other parts of this country. So yes, it's okay to say, oh, crime rates has gone up and the numbers are this to score your political point. But look at the national interest. Should the police be allowed to do their work? If you want to politicize it, then you give way for the scapegoating. If you want somebody to be arrested, look, when we were at the law school, we had so many stories. I have done criminal trial practice for many parts of my practice. There you hear some of these accused persons telling you stories. Yes. Do we want, I don't want it to come from me. These days, this man is quick to get the cat out of the bag. But do we want a situation where there will be artificial arrest? Is that what we want? Or we want real arrest? This Yana case that, from 2003 and all that. Is it the case that you want somebody to face justice when the person perhaps has not committed offense? Please, let's be careful as a nation. You, NDC, maybe you are not
so that you go for this juggler, then we move on because we are running out of time. I'm asking the law he has brought up, the law he has brought up, and this is also one area of your practice you just admitted. Martin, we know, he's actually gone to the Supreme Court and won certain victories for us in this direction about improving the criminal jurisprudence. The question to you is, Martin is clear in his mind that James is wrong. What do you say?
No, he should say he disagrees. No, he said that. He should say that.
Yeah, wait. That was actually your legal advisor.
He should say that. You should say you disagree with him. That aspect of his wrong, I disagree with.
So here,
say you disagree with him.
Okay, right. So here, on the basis of his section 21, and perhaps what I have, sought to point out in addition, section 13.1, section 11.1, which section 13.1 and 11.1 would mean that Ken would have intentionally used the involuntary agent to cause the event. And then when you go to 21A, let me just read that so that you will now hear you. A part of 21A says that the abettor is punishable for the abatement of the crime, of the criminal offense, which the abettor intended to abet in the manner provided in this chapter with respect to the abatement of Criminal Offences Act, which are not actually committed. So you can intend something, it was not actually committed, and you are still guilty for it. What do you say? This radio and TV, the radio is humming.
Yes, and of course the
so
TV
feel
is
the
watching.
air, feel the air.
Yeah, sure. You know he was making a political statement in his press conference. He wasn't making a legal statement. I don't see how a political statement should suddenly turn into a legal debate. I already have told you that the two gentlemen involved in this, Anas, Kennedy are good friends. I would want to refrain from engaging in serious legal debate on this matter. So if Martin is talking about the law, and he is suddenly trying to talk about the law when he knows he's doing politics, I will advise him to allow the police to do their work.
Okay.
We should be mindful of the family.
Okay, since you won't talk about
sympathies to the family. We should give them some peace. So that we don't unnecessarily get this politicized.
So let me get
the family you've not expressed your condolences.
Right.
He has not expressed it in this press conference. He did not even express condolence to the family.
Where is it?
No, this is the statement, not what he said. What did you say?
Thank you.
What did you say?
Let's hear
Did you
Dr.
express loudly?
Let me pick it out. Dr. Obin, let's hear you.
Apologize for what? Did you express your condolence?
What do you say? What do you think the police ought to be doing, or that they are not doing? Quickly.
Quickly.
Thank you.
I really think that no Ghanaian, I'm just going on an ordinary man's approach. No Ghanaian must step out of his house thinking that I am not sure whether I'll come back home or not, or the family thinking that my father, my uncle, my brother is going and he's unlikely to come back. I think that is a primary principle that as Ghanaians we should always yearn for. And again, not being a lawyer, I'm sure I'm unable to pronounce on the criminal liabilities of anybody. So that one, I won't go there. But for me, as leaders of a country, we need to be circumspect with what we say, because we as followers, we follow sometimes the utterances of our leaders. So a little bit of a recklessness could cause, a kind of interpretation and misinterpretation, because the laws are interpreted by lawyers, not by ordinary people. The ordinary people just think in a common sense way. Exactly. And so I would suggest to our leaders, including myself in a certain small way, that we should be circumspect, because little recklessness, and I saw that statement by His Excellency, the former President Rawlings, little recklessness can lead to an unintended consequences. It is perhaps not the intention of Honorable Kennedy Agyapong to see this end, but for a statement that has been made and what has happened, it is appearing that what he said, somebody will say, my mouth be gone. But, when you draw a gun, some people would explain that this is the issue. But I think we should allow the law to take its course. Sometimes, and then again, we should allow the police to undertake their investigations and have confidence in them to be doing that.
Are you in any doubt that Ahmed's killing is a contract killing?
It has to be established, because to say yes or no might be a little bit, taking a certain side. Okay. But I believe that it must be established. And I also believe that we have to have respect for the families, which the deceased family. I mean, it's very, very important. But I think as a country, we should ensure that citizens go out, do their normal duties, and everybody must have 99.9% assurance that the person will come back home. I don't want to go out doing my work or coming to Joy FM, and then my wife and children might be thinking that he probably will not come out because somebody would have been contracted, or somebody not contracted would pull a gun and murder me in cold blood. So I think it's something that all of us, and again, the political interpretations often also mar the real issues, wherever it's coming from. Okay. Wherever it's coming from.
Be specific. Be specific. So
wherever it's coming,
political, he's advising you.
Because the division comes because there are two political parties or more. So they are always, everybody's trying to be
specific.
All right, so the topic, we take a
you
break here. We return to get to your area of sufficient comfort to tell us about the blast in the mine that killed the 13, obviously unavoidable situation, and then 16 people, right? That's the latest number. And then reopening of the Obuasi mine. We'll be right back.